Don Cornelius, he had been in the club many times. Many people saw him, so they didn't have any fear at the time. And these two young girls got in his Rolls Royce and went up to his house. And we didn't hear from them for 3 days and couldn't figure out where they were. These two young bunnies were at Don Cornelius's house and they were separated. One was locked in one room and the other was in another room, tied up and bound. And the sister could hear her screaming, and there were wooden objects that she was sodomized with. And she could hear her other sister being brutalized. It was horrible, horrible. One of the girls managed to get out and make a phone call to the bunny mother at the time. And as PlayBoy rules were, you couldn't call the police. You called the mansion and Joe Piastro, and they went and got the bunnies, bloody, battered, drugged, and that's when PlayBoy security takes over. The bunny mother at the time was my assistant before I moved to Chicago. And she was part of the cleanup crew, and she had to clean up these girls. She wasn't allowed to take them to a hospital. She had to take care of these young women and to keep it out of the press. And I think Hefner knew all about this.
How do we know Hefner knew?
Because Joe Piastro told me he had to do a report every single day if anything happened. And Hefner read the security reports.
Security there was not about making sure these girls were safe. It was about making sure that the guests didn't do anything that Hefner would not have wanted them to do. The same way, if you go to a nightclub, the security guards there are not there to make sure that you get home intact. They're there to make sure that the club remains intact, that this property is intact. Why would we believe that the safety and the security of these women were a priority when we have so much evidence to the contrary?
I blame myself a lot. I have such guilt about not coming forward, but I knew that the establishment wouldn't allow me to come forward. And who's gonna believe me? Nobody's gonna believe me. These girls didn't want to come forward. I asked them. For these young girls, what they went through, nobody has any idea. My job was to pick up the pieces. I had to pick up the pieces of these kids. They were kids. Hefner definitely knew. All the time. He knew.
Hugh Hefner, are you a moral person?
Well, that is a part of my life which is particularly important to me. So many of my dreams have come true, and with it obviously has come wealth and celebrity and a great deal of power. And it is in a situation like that when you really begin to find out who you are as a person. And you begin to really find out what your morality is really all about. And one of the things that is most important to me is the way that I handle that.
I feel very bad that I had to keep